Hi, folks. Nice to meet you all. I thought I was going to be 30 minutes later, but got pulled up, so here I am. This is my second time here, by the way, and I love this meetup, so I see a few faces that I'm kind of aware of. I'd like to talk about Tofu today. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tofu. We are a B2B marketing platform. We help B2B marketing teams do more with less. At a high level, we help teams in two dimensions. The first dimension is what we call repurposing. The idea here is, as a B2B marketer, there's many different types of content you create. Think about the landing pages, copies that you have to create, the blog posts, the social posts. A lot of times it's not something creating net new, but you're repurposing existing content. It might be content of yours. It could be some articles that you have on some websites. From that, you are creating these different types of content. And we use generative AI to help you do that much more efficiently. The kind of core metrics that we are trying to improve is obviously the time, resource, and budgets that goes into your team to creating these types of content. And we do one-to-one repurposing. Think about, hey, I have this cool blog post and I want to create a social post out of it. We hear this so often. I have a white paper. How often has it been where you have this white paper, you have it on your website for a bit, but then it's kind of stuck in the corner of your website and it's never to be seen again? People ask, can I really create a few blog posts from this white paper? Can I create a quick email campaign from this white paper? It comes up a lot. So we do one-to-one, one-to-many. The second thing we do is around personalization. And if you're a B2B marketer, you have these different customer segments. It could be across different personas. It could be across different industries. A lot of our companies, clients want to do account-based marketing. So if you want to really create that one-to-one hyper-personalized landing page or email for a specific account, they use us as well. Now, the thinking here is, again, it comes up where they say personalization is great. If you go to any B2B marketing's websites, at the top menu bar, you see our customers or our personas, and you have these different landing pages created. And the reason they do this is obviously they want to make sure that content is really relevant to the target audience they're trying to sell for. But they keep saying it's really impossible to scale. So how do you do that across 500 accounts, right? As opposed to 20 accounts if you have a huge ABX team. That's really where we're trying to solve for in Tofu. So there's a lot of AI marketing solutions out there. So I just wanted to have this slide to kind of be super clear how we're different. Number one, we care a lot about the quality of the output. So if you look at all those different LLM models out there, a lot of the benchmarks are around things like coding or something that's not really related to marketing. So we kind of built our own benchmarks. So we test all the OpenAI models out there, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo. We just talked about Anthropic Cloud. We've tested Opus. Opus is actually surprisingly good. We see it's on par. We're actually slightly better on certain categories, at least for marketing content, the Gemini models and all that sort. So we have a very rigorous evaluation framework where we try to rate the quality of the output every single week. The second big part, we're really focused on mid-market to enterprise companies. So if you're a marketer, right, you use ChatGPT and you say, okay, cool, that's great. I created a blog post out of it. The biggest problem is, then what? Let's say you create 100 different personalized versions of that email campaign. Unless that's not in your HubSpot account, your Marketo account, where you can actually send those emails campaigns right now, it doesn't really solve your problem as a marketer. So we try to really go that last mile. We create the final HTML landing page that works with any landing page web hosting provider in the world. So you could be using WordPress, you can be using Webflow, you could be your own Vercel, it doesn't matter. We can create dynamic landing pages that's really hyper-personal. So with that, let's just go to a demo. It's apparently GDC. So I was doing another talk and I just created a demo for Unity. So pretend you're a marketer at Unity, right? And you have all these content that you have to create. You want to do hyper-personalization. Your team's then small. You can't do it all by yourself. You want to leverage AI. So what you do in our platform, first of all, we have this part called the playbook. Tofu is largely comprised of two parts. One is what we call the playbook. Let me try to use it a bit. Playbook, and the second is the factory. The playbook is where you store all the common knowledge graph. We call it a knowledge graph, but it's storing information like things like your brand guidelines, your brand tone, your positioning, all your different customer segmentation. We have all this information stored because a lot of times we see that as a delta between using GPT and saying, looks like a good human written output versus something that really sounds like it came out of your marketing team. So we put a lot of effort to get that tone, brand positioning really right. Once you have that, factory is now your content engine where you can repeatedly create different types of content. So I'll show you both. So first, the playbook starts in the company info tab. Again, anything about your company, think about your brand guidelines. We start from your website. As soon as you provide your website, we actually go and crawl and scrape your website. So we know exactly what services you provide, what type of content or products you serve, but also like how do you speak to your customers, like the messaging. We try to understand that well. A lot of the times our customers want to add additional information. So it could be things like their internal style guide, what things you should not be saying, product overview or competitor advantage. You can even do a web search and pull in information there. Anything that you have internally about how you speak to your customers today, you put it here in the playbook. Once you have all that information, the next step is what we call targets. Targets are for personalization. It's how you segment your customers today. Remember, like a lot of times marketers segment across different industries. So in the case of Unity, not only do they serve gamers and gaming studios, but they also target automotive industries and architecture industries, and they have separate landing pages for each one of them, of course, because they want to make sure they speak that language. Now, as a marketer, what you can do is you can pull in any kind of information you have about those segments, and we ingest all that information so we can use that when we create personalized content specifically for these industries. The definition of targets is very generic. It can be across different personas, different industries. We can do account-based marketing at the company level. We integrate with all your CRMs and your marketing automation tools, so we can directly pull in your account list from Salesforce and create hyper-personalized content for those accounts that your sales reps want to target. You can do it across at the contact level. So if you have at the individual content level and you know their titles, so depending on different titles and personas, you can target and create custom content there. But it really can be any way you slice and dice your customers. So this is this is one example of doing it based on accounts. So we kind of pulled in from our HubSpot list 10 architecture companies. So what we do, similar to the main company info tab, we actually go and crawl and scrape all these websites. So we go exactly here. We try to understand what exactly they do, what services they provide, what's their specialty, and store all of that within our playbook. We go one step further. And if you think about, let's say you're a 200 company, your marketing team's like 20, and you have like a small ABM team. What do? A lot of times they're doing like heavy account research. So they're thinking, okay, what do these companies do? Is there any recent news on the web? What kind of private information do we have from our previous interactions with them? They're extracting all that information. So like when they then create content for them, be that a landing page, an email, they're able to utilize that hyper-personalized and relevant content. But we do that all automatically. So we go and scrape the web, we pull in your private information. So we create a summary about this company. We say, what are the pain points this specific company might face in the context of what Unity can provide? What are specific value propositions Unity can provide to this company? And we do this all automatically. Obviously, as a marketer, you can always override this and change this. But this is a huge unlock for marketing teams because now they can really do account-based marketing at scale for hundreds and hundreds of companies. We have a company that did like 20 landing pages like manually, painstakingly, but through Tofu, now they can do up to 600 and 650 different landing pages at scale. So that's a target list. The next is what we call assets. So assets is for repurposing. Imagine, let's say for Unite, for Unity, they recently had this event. I went to their website and actually their YouTube channel and just crawled all their videos. Now we automatically transcribe them. And the idea is like, from this, can we create quick blog posts? Can we create quick LinkedIn posts and so forth? News articles, ebooks, again, like one-to-one, one-to-many from this channel to other channels. These are the different types of content that we can help repurpose. All right, so now the fun part. Let's actually go and create some content. This is the factory page where we are able to create different types of content. You'll see all the historical campaigns that we've created for you. Let's go and create a new campaign. Let's start with an ABM campaign, targeting architecture companies. We have these two modalities, personalization and repurposing. We'll start with personalization. Let's add some targets, right? So this is where we pull in the information that we had from the playbook. I'll just go and select all of them. It can be as many as you want. We'll also add some instructions. So say we are targeting specific architecture companies, pull in relevant industry specifics, and also say make the tone professional, yet simple. Another great thing about Tofu is, by the way, you can also reference external content. So if you have some external white paper that you want to reference and you want to say, hey, pull in some statistics from this white paper for the output, you can do that. But you can save all of these instructions as a preset. So imagine if you're, again, working with a chat-based interface, you've got some blog post, but the next time you have to do that all over again. For us, let's say you have some instructions and prompts that work well. You can save something like this and say ABM instructions that work well. So as a marketer, the next time you create a new campaign, you don't really have to repeat this process over and over again. You can just pull in these instructions and use your campaign directly and create your campaign directly. All right, so let's create some content. We do omni-channel. It's a big feature of ours where we create not only just the emails or just like the landing pages. We do landing pages, marketing emails, SDR emails, white papers, blog posts, ad campaigns, and more. So I'll really quickly start with a landing page. I saw this website, this landing page for Unity, so I'll use that. We start with what we call a template. And the idea here is, again, you have this existing landing page, this existing page in your website that you know really works well, but now you want to create hyper-personalized versions of this website across these different targets. This is exactly what you're doing. So I'll give it a few seconds for this to fetch. And what we're going to do now is from this existing website, we're going to select a few components of where we want to personalize the content for. And then we're going to personalize it for those 10 different architecture companies. Cool. So now this page has been loaded. So let's go to select some components. We've broken it out to different components you can select. You can decide what you want to personalize and what you don't want to. So I'll just select a few components like this and go forward. At this point, if you want to add any instructions, you can add them here as well. Cool. So let's now go ahead and test it for one target. I'll just pick one random company and see how the output looks like. So the process is typically how our customers use it is they test it in one or two targets and see what the output looks like, add some prompting to get the output exactly the way they want it. After they do that, and then you now are just mass generated for like 50, 100 different companies. Cool. So now you see we personalize it for Perkins and Will. We can kind of review the results and go one by one for each component. So by default, we give 2 different variations. You can always regenerate and create new variations. We also have the ability to not only create the content at scale, but also give custom instructions at the component level. So you can say something like, this is an H1, so give it some impact by adding an emoji. So not necessarily that you would do this, but to just demonstrate the fact that you do have that flexibility of really creating content at scale, but then also giving fine-grained instructions at the component level. So now you see we've kind of given this additional flavor and instruction at the component level. We'll see the different outputs as well. Again, 2 different variations. There's always a human in the loop, so you can delete it and change it to whatever you want. And let's say after a few iterations, I like this, I'll go ahead and use this. And what we'll do is now generate for the remaining 9 targets. So we have this landing page where we generated for Perkins and Will, and now Tofu in the background is going to create all these different landing pages for you. Now, while we do this, just to show the omni-channel component for it, you built this personalized landing page. Well, how are you going to now drive traffic to that landing page? Typically, what marketers do, they have some kind of maybe ad campaign or an email campaign where they're doing outbound. So let's do that. So let's say email sequence 1. A lot of times our customers have an existing email template that they know works quite well. So in that case, you can just provide it here. If not, we also create a template for you. So we'll do that right now. And the idea here is we're going to create a really personalized email for one of these target accounts. And then it's only a template, so you can always change it and fix it the way you want it. But again, similar to the landing page, once we have that email, we're now going to personalize it for all the different accounts. So we personalize it for this company called Nikanseke. I'll just maybe change this to something like this, which will replace it with in reality, a personalization token, maybe in your HubSpot or whatnot. We have different variations, so you can kind of see through that. All of this is, again, editable, but a few times after you've iterated, let's say I like this email template. Same process with the landing page. You select the parts you want to personalize. So let's say I want to personalize the subject line, and then I want to personalize this whole body. I'll go to continue. Again, you can add any instructions here at this point, but I'll skip. Let's also just test it on one other account to get a sense of what it looks like. Gensler. Cool. So now pulled in specific things that Gensler might be working on. Again, still in the architecture industry, and then pulls in relevant content that's really hyper. So it kind of knows, because we fetched their website, right? We know they have 53 offices worldwide. So that's really relevant, personalized information that it would be really hard to do at scale if you do it manually. Cool. Again, same thing. Let's read the results and start generating for the remaining 9. The landing pages are all done, so we can see a few others. Let's maybe look at this one. So this is a personalized landing page for ACOM. While this generating, I want to quickly show how now marketing teams use this in practice. You are able to export this. We push it directly to your marketing automation tools, HubSpot, Marketo, any other platforms. Let's say you have a WordPress that you host your website on. All you have to do is add the script at the header of your website. And what will happen is, based on this tag at the end, you'll be able to render a dynamic landing page for each of these separate accounts. So again, very simple, lightweight. All you have to do is add this script, and then you are able to create you'll have this different variations of that landing page ready for you. Same for email. Let's see if I'll just stop generating to show you how it works. Cool. So for email, same thing. We push directly to your marketing automation tools, HubSpot, Marketo. We integrate with Salesforce. So it means if you have a mapping with Outreach, SalesLoft, or any other sales automation tool, we push it there as well. What will happen is we have this personalized content for each individual account. And depending on the recipient, whether that person is any one of these accounts, they will get that personalized version of that email. So again, it's that last mile that we do a lot to make sure it really works well. Cool. Okay, so that's personalization. I have 1 minute left to show repurposing, so wish me luck. Okay, so repurposing, it's much more simple, so hopefully it'll go by quick. The idea of repurposing, again, is you have this anchor content, and you want to create many derivative content from it, right? One-to-one, one-to-many. You can always start by adding your anchor content, or you can pull in the anchor content that we had in our playbook. So let's say, hey, like there was this keynote of Unite 2023 that Unity recently hosted. I want to pull in all that transcript. Let's say I want to create some marketing collateral out of it, right? Same thing. You have the step to add any instructions. Now we're at the content phase. Let's go ahead and add some content. So I don't know. Let's create some marketing email out of it. Let's create a blog post out of it. And let's create a LinkedIn post out of it. You can also add a template. So if you have a template of what your typical blog post looks like, you can add it, and we try to follow the structure and the tone of it as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and generate this. And again, the best thing is repeatable workflows, right? I don't want you to do this once. I want you to do this for all your content. So all of these instructions, you can save them as presets. The next time you have a new piece of anchor content, you just swap out that anchor content and boom, you have these 3 pieces of content ready to go. Now, initially, you want to make sure you get the tone right and the output the way you want it. So there's some back and forth from adding the instructions there. But once you have it, you can, again, tailor to that exact same format that you like for your LinkedIn post. So it gave us something like this. But again, like you have the flexibility. So you, let's say, make it short and clipped it at 2 to 3 paragraphs. And with the CTA to check out unity.com. So I can regenerate it. And let's say I like these. I can always save this as a preset and call it like LinkedIn presets. So the next time I create a LinkedIn post, it will follow these instructions. So let's give it a second to regenerate it based on these instructions. Bless you. Cool. So now you see we've generated, again, 2 different variations. They're both 2 to 3 paragraphs long. It ended with a CTA to check out unity.com. Really quickly, marketing email. Again, you can add instructions to make it longer or shorter the way you want it. Same for blog posts. Cool. So that's it for the demo for Tofu. Happy to answer any questions. So we use foundational models like OpenAI models, Cloud Anthropic models under the hood. But what we do is on top of that, we build our own knowledge graph. We have our own RAG system to be able to pull in very relevant information specific for that company. So we have that layer to try to make sure it really follows the brand tone for that company. We have all the, what's the one that GitHub has? Copilot, GPT-4. We have access for that for all of our software engineers. We do think it's going to be a huge unlock for productivity. And there's more exciting stuff that I see every day, like Devin and whatnot. So yes, we use them a lot. Let me answer the first one in terms of how we try to, you're right. I honestly can smell GPT-4 output from a mile away. They're all the same. For that exact reason, I actually am really happy that there are other competitors out there. Again, we figured out that Opus Cloud was actually really good, but it has a very much more conversational tone. But it's good in general, right? Because it gives diversity in terms of tone. But on top of that, what we also do is, again, we have this playbook where you're able to upload existing marketing content that you have that we can now emulate and try to follow that tone reference. In the content page, I didn't show you that as well. But let's say you have an email, you can upload an existing email that maybe your CTO write, and maybe it's really technical language. And as a marketer, you don't know exactly how to follow it, or you can try to, but you can always add that as a tone reference. So to answer your first question, we have many places where we can try to emulate your tone, and the foundational models are getting more diverse. So that's good. The second point around as a marketer, am I putting my competitive advantage here, and am I putting myself at risk? At least our customers don't see it that way. Honestly, I've never heard that before. I think the way that they want to do, by the way, all of this is content that will eventually be sent out, right? So they are going to try to reach out audiences. They just want to make sure they reach and speak their language. A lot of the brand tone and guidelines that they might have internally, but it's something that they share internally as well to make sure they don't follow and they don't use specific words and phrases. And they want to make sure if there's any AI tool out there, it does the same, right? If it just spits out just normal, common language, they don't want it. So we've actually seen marketers not mention that a lot, and they actually want to make sure the output is good because they want to help themselves. They want to help their teams be more efficient. But the fact that you can now do that, where you can add these brand guidelines, you can add these style tones. I think the thing that will be different though is each company will have to think, well, what is my core branding? What's my core position? How can I differentiate that? But once you have that, I do think teams will now want to find tools that can help, use that same tone, same branding for all the different types of content that they create. So that's how we see it. By the way, it's been really interesting to see how much it's gone better, because even last year at this time, we had seen quite a few cases where it would hallucinate. We've done a lot of prompt engineering to reduce it. Like I mentioned before, we have our own quality evaluations that we do every week. And we actually have that exact one criteria where it's saying, hey, is it spitting out language where it's just not true? So we try to measure that exact same point because it's such an important part as a marketer, right? All that said, the way our customers are currently using our tool right now, there is a human in the loop. They want to check it. And it makes sense, right? Like, hey, I created 50 landing pages. Still probably take me 2 months if I had to do it right now, but I have Tofu created for me. It takes what, like an hour or two just to kind of go through it. So there's always a human in the loop. We recommend to have the human in the loop. I think it's a great thing to do. However, we do see some customers want to go from that co-pilot to an autopilot. So what they're thinking is, hey, EJ, for my like high lead customers, I want to make sure I go through it, and we have them do so. But there's different stages of the life cycles for a prospect, right? There's these like really early stage prospects where they maybe just visited your website. It's not really close to closing anytime soon. But for those kind of customers, you have the more leeway to still keep them engaged by having personalized content, but you're not going to go through thousands and thousands of emails individually. So we have some customers that want to move towards that autopilot, but predominantly, yes, humans are in the loop. We want to keep that way. We do think in the future that hallucinational rate will get less and less. We have a blog post about this. I care about this a lot. I am a huge believer that you can't improve what you cannot measure. And you're thinking at the beginning, like, well, how do you measure this? It's never been done before, but it can always be done. So we started with more manual reviews because a lot of this is subjective, right? When you say, hey, the tone is not right, what the heck does that mean? Like, how can you score that? But if you have a marketing background, you can kind of tell. So we have these human raters that have a marketing background, rate our content across all the different marketing collateral, all the different cases, across different criteria, like the hallucination that you mentioned. How well does it follow the tone? How deep is the personalization? What about the grammar? What about the format? So we do it across all these stuff. Some of these, we are now trying to automate it. So like all the stuff, you've seen all these LLM-based evaluation tools, and we're trying to adopt some of them to do more of like a unit testing, do more quicker evaluations. But even right now, a lot of the content is quite qualitative that I think it really helps to have a human rate it. So that's what we're doing.